Everybody and everything is interconnected. It's a great truth of reality that we're all, at some level, some deep spiritual level, some deep material level, connected to everything else. And this is a Piscean concept. The nature of the sign of Pisces is this truth of the interconnectivity of all reality and all beings. The thing about this moment in time, the next 2 years, is that those themes of interconnectivity are greatly evoked with our transiting astrology, particularly the lunar eclipse cycle, as the north node of the moon, or Rahu, moves through Pisces, and we have a series of eclipses there, but those eclipses are with Saturn. And so the Piscean interconnectivity is the great theme of our time. In this video, I'm going to talk about some specific examples of that relate to the technology of the age, the telephone, the digital telephone, and how we may be on the cusp of some great transformation in terms of being able to connect to everyone everywhere all at once. So stay with me. My name is S.J. Anderson. Very happy to be on the cusp of a new eclipse cycle and to be with you to break a little bit of it down. Look at that. Look at the fruit stands that we're just walking by. You know, this is a case in point, you might say, of the Piscean interconnected nature of the reality, is that everything you've eaten today and drank today has been touched by hundreds or maybe thousands of people in the supply chain. I mean, nothing that you do or nothing that happens is separate or separated from this sense of a oneness of all beings. And this is a spiritual truth. I mean, you can look at Advaita Vedanta, for example, the idea of Brahman, this great vibrating oneness. You can look at Christian concepts of God is within each person. Islamic concepts that evoke the same thing. You know, there is only one God. This kind of Sufist mystical notion of one God or one entity that we all are contained within. So my Patreon is going live today. This is a place and a space where I can provide you some custom content, some things that are unique you won't be able to get on my YouTube channel or my Instagram or any of the free social media areas that I operate in currently. You know, as an astrology content creator, it very much helps to have support that isn't derived from readings. I love doing readings and I'll keep doing readings, but the more support I can have that isn't that type of labor, the more I'll be able to do, the more I'll be able to create. More writing, more videos, more getting the ideas I have into a form of expression and into the world. Thank you for considering either joining the Patreon or becoming a channel member here on YouTube. Both are going to be launched simultaneously, and the tiers are the same, except they're a little bit more expensive here on YouTube because YouTube charges more, one, and then two, there is a special tier on Patreon only available there, and that is the email newsletter. The tiers are a lower tier of just basic support. The next level will be the monthly live stream, where there'll be an astrology lecture effectively where we can talk about really anything. I can field questions. I'll gather questions every month before the live stream, try to be as interactive as possible with channel members and patrons, and we can teach technique. We can go into transit delineation more specifically, talk about really anything and everything you'd like to do, but I'm seeing it more as like a practicum or an educational style lecture, but it's highly interactive. And then I have another tier for a weekly newsletter I'm very excited about called Lunar Signals I'm launching. And Lunar Signals is simply a newsletter that maps the moon. And so every Friday in the afternoon, supporters on that tier will receive a breakdown of the week ahead, some of my favorite charts of the week ahead, some of the best energies of the week ahead, energies that I think are rough, and just a mapping of the energy based on the moon, which is a core ancient astrological principle. So that's there. And then I'll have a tier that's quite a bit higher, but that can be channel sponsorship. And so every month I release a month ahead forecast. If folks want to sponsor that forecast, they can pick that tier. Yeah, so check it out. YouTube membership right here on YouTube if you prefer to stay on this platform, or if you're on Patreon or prefer Patreon, you can find me there. At SJ Anderson 144, same handle as I am here on YouTube. The links are all in the description. Thank you for the support. If you can't become a member of the Patreon, that's okay, or channel members. Thank you very much just for watching and for the support through the years. I am very, very grateful. Wonderful. I look forward to interacting with this membership space, this Patreon space, and getting into some astrology with some more depth and more power and more weight. And I thank you dearly for the support. So the genesis of this video is every time there's a new eclipse cycle, I like to deep dive into the research of the dates of when these eclipses happened last, and then you do a historical analysis and you look at events and then you try to map it into our current moment. And what we're trying to do is find resonances or echoes of past material manifestations in our current reality. So what's striking about this transit of Rahu through Pisces? Well, Saturn is there with it. nearly the whole time. And so I punched into my software, when were Rahu and Saturn together the last time, to see how recently that happened. And so you just punch up in the software. That's the beauty of our current astrological moment. We have software like Solar Fire. I can just punch in and I say, when was Saturn with the lunar north node or Rahu last? And it tells me exactly when it was. And we're going to get to that because it's so fascinating when you look at that moment of time back in the 19th century. But before we do it, even in my preparations for 2024, we all had to look a little bit at the history of the Pisces eclipse cycle. Remember, it's 18.6 years that the lunar nodes are back in the same place of the zodiac, and then it's every 9 years that they're inversed in the same axis. I did this on Dan's World Astrology Report channel. Dan, Steph, and I looked at the year ahead in 2024, and it was a big theme, but if you put in 2007, June 2006 to December 2007, when Rahu, or the North Lunar Node, was in Pisces last, the big event that you find that's always listed when you just research that a little bit is that it was that Steve Jobs moment. Remember when Steve Jobs said, it's a smartphone, it's an iPod, it's I forgot the other one, smartphone, iPod, and he did that presentation, then he pulled out, it's this. And so the magic of this device emerged in our reality during the last time that the North Lunar Node was in Pisces. And so there's no underselling the impact of this thing. I mean, this has taken over everybody's mind all over the world. And it's the design of it even. They call it the black cube or the black rectangle. It resembles that monolith in Stanley Kubrick's 2001 Space Odyssey that those chimps touched and then they became human-like, or that the main character, I think Bowman, touches and then he becomes a star child at the end of the picture. This is the monolith. It changed everything. It changed how we are interconnected with all beings everywhere at once, that Pisces theme that I laid out at the beginning of the video. And that happened during these eclipses in Pisces. Remember what eclipses are: accelerated change, the restructuring of the reality to honor the deep truth of reality. The eclipses show us the true deep truth of what is really real, you might say. And so this is what's really real. The technology reflecting the truth that we all are connected to everyone. So the exact dates on that: the development of the iPhone began in 2005 and continued in secrecy until its public unveiling on January 9th, 2007. That's that famous press conference at Macworld Convention in San Francisco. Then it was released that summer in 2007, North Node or Rahu still in Pisces, all during 2007. I want to come back and talk about the Piscean archetype a little bit here, because as Saturn and the North Lunar Node are there, it's calling us to grapple seriously and with depth with what Pisces is, that's Saturn, and then to ride the Piscean emergences. And so contemplating its archetype will allow us to process what's emerging for you, what kind of fate is breaking through your former reality to lead you into your new world. And I want to go to this book, The 12 Faces of the Goddess, Transform Your Life with Astrology, Magic, and the Sacred Feminine by Danielle Blackwood. And she writes about Pisces. Whatever medium calls her, her work almost always has a touch of the enigmatic. It is usually dreamy, flowing, and graceful, featuring organic forms and ethereal or mystical elements, sensual, feminine, otherworldly, and enchanting. His images have an intangible quality that are infused with the sacred because of her acute receptivity and awareness of the interconnectivity of life. The Piscean woman is often highly intuitive, even psychic. She may be what in recent times has been termed an empath, a person who unconsciously experiences the feelings of others, whether she wants to or not. Pisces is you and others feeling what others are feeling, sometimes not even being able to stop that feeling. It becomes the way that we're connected at deep levels with other people. And that's why the magic of this device is so Piscean. Because yes, it is Aquarian, yes, it's some left brain, nerds in here making this thing possible, and it's factories building it. But what it opens up is the ability to transmit emotion to feeling, just like I'm doing now. I mean, I'm not recording on a smartphone. I often have recorded my videos on smartphones, but it allows for across space and time the transmission of voice, which holds emotional states, the ability to just transmit selves through the wide expanse of the human field on this material earth ball. I already knew that Pisces eclipses are about this connectivity and how technology connects. And by the way, just an interlude here, you can look at Saturn in Aquarius. We've talked about this many times in other videos, but Saturn in Aquarius brings the internet, the World Wide Web. The root chart of that includes Saturn in Aquarius. Once Saturn moves into Pisces, in the mid-1990s, that's when the internet architecture gets really creative. That's when artists start coming in and building out websites, and a lot of the businesses we know started really feeling into their business models and getting creative with the new tech. And so it's one of my favorite delineations of the nature of Pisces is to say it's creative remixes and expansions of the Aquarian technological forms that emerge. So it's this creative technical place that we've seen so often in history, Pisces evoking or embodying. Back to what I was saying earlier. So I just punched up, when has Rahu or the North Lunar Node been with Saturn and Pisces? And so I just look at my software, it tells me 29 February 1876 they were together, and then 21 October 1877 they left. And so it was about a 18-month period in 1876 and 1877. So I don't know this time in history very well, and I just punch into my AI and I say, hey, AI, tell me what happened during that time. And guess what happened? You're gonna find this insane, because I did as soon as I read it. The invention of the telephone. The invention of the telephone happened during the last time we had Saturn and the North Lunar Node together, which is what we're about to have. It's on its own, it's like, okay, it's Piscean, it's interconnected, but because this was the telephone, the Steve Jobs iPhone that came in the last cycle, it's like a ding, 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 double whammy, that there's really something here that I have to make a whole video about it. That's how important it is in my view. The very nature of the telephone technology that then Steve Jobs revamped was coming online with this major Piscean activation. It goes without saying, what's the telephone? I mean, think about my grandmother. She was born after the telephone was invented, but she would tell me about how there wasn't very often phones. By the time she left the world, she was hanging out on a smartphone. I think she had an iPhone. I remember growing up in her house, we'd have the rotary phones. But the nature of the telephone is that you can pick up and say hi to anybody anywhere in the world. And that technology comes online. It's what defines the 20th century in some ways, is the technology connecting all of us, but the telephone tech, a huge part of that interconnectivity of the 20th century, and then setting the groundwork for the Jobsian leap forward. So the most widely accepted date for the invention of the telephone, 7 March 1876, Alexander Graham Bell files a patent. And it gets approved almost immediately. 5 days later, on 12 March 1876, Bell then successfully transmits the first telephone message to his assistant Watson, saying, Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you. I think IBM named something Watson, whether it was after this Watson or after the Sherlock Holmes Watson, I'm not sure. But that eclipse cycle, I just want to get a little bit more granular with it, because the first eclipse in Pisces, even though the true lunar node entered Pisces, the North Node, in February 1876, the first eclipse in Pisces in 1875 was in September, 15 September. Our first eclipse in Pisces right here in 2024, 18 September. So we're actually syncopated quite well with that eclipse cycle from the 19th century, in which Alexander Graham Bell, about 6 months after that eclipse cycle began with the September lunar eclipse in Pisces, the invention of the telephone happens. And Saturn was in Pisces during that time. So we're really matching up with this invention of the telephone transit-wise. And you can see just Saturn and the North Lunar Node together, you're getting some long-term cycles. These long-term cycles inform our reality. So, you can use just these nodes in Saturn as a great timing device. Now, the other thing about this is that Bell's patent, it was widely recognized, but there were other inventors. A lot of times people say it wasn't Alexander Graham Bell, that was just propaganda. And it was really this guy, Antonio Meucci, who began developing his teletrafono, or talking telegraph device, in 1849 in Havana, Cuba. So I went to 1849, guess what was in 1849? Saturn and Pisces, and then guess what else was there? The South Lunar Node. So it was the time before the Bell invention, where you had an eclipse cycle in Saturn and Pisces, you get this other candidate for the invention of the telephone. What the astrology is telling us is there's something about Pisces and Saturn, the new foundations and the collective oneness, that when that arrives, symbolically, we get triggered these devices that connect all of us. And it's just powerful. Mind meld is the concept of the word that came to me when I was thinking about what exactly I'm trying to get at here with Pisces. Pisces is often connected to Christianity, and even in the Christian tradition, there's this idea that like all of these souls, your brothers and sisters are everybody, that we can forgive everyone, treat your neighbor as yourself. This idea of that we're processing our own decisions through how we make others feel, or how we might want to feel with other people. And so this kind of mind meld where we're not just these singular individuals, we actually can feel and interact with others. You take it further and it's really this great collective oneness that we're all in. I already spoke about that at the beginning. Just to close the video, what could this be about in our current time? Like, what is the new iPhone that's about to come online? What's the new telephone technology that's about to come online? And so I just was doing some research, and there's this article for September 2024. I'm recording this on 12 September, so about 8 days ago, this news article emerges. I'm just going to read some of it. It says, integrating holographic calls directly into dialer apps would allow users to access and use this advanced communication technology seamlessly without the need for additional applications. Now, Telefonica, Ericsson, and Matsuki have successfully completed one of the most complex demonstrations of IMS, IP Multimedia Subsystem, data channel technology to date. This proof of concept showcases the potential of IMS data channel to embed innovative applications, including holographic communication, into future 5D and 6D voice services. So holographic communication, that's really what this video might be about, that we could be on the cusp and look next year for breakthroughs in some kind of communication technology that will, even more than we already are, connect people emotionally, and this meld of beingness that Pisces seems to evoke and further, especially when Saturn and eclipses join there. So that's my candidate. You know, holographic technology is technology that creates immersive, three-dimensional interactions between people in different locations, just like the telephone connects the voice in different locations, or the iPhone, FaceTime. So you have a two-dimensional or a photographic connection. With holographic communication, you get real-time 3D representation, which means that you would be seeing me in 3D, and you would be immersed in an environment where we would feel like we're together. And in fact, if you use sensor tech, we could even hug, you could feel me, or we could do other, you know, connected activities, but in a 3D style environment. It integrates with a smartphone. There's AI enhancement, and so this is where I think the AI age that we're in could come on, because AI can construct a 3D model of a person based on the data that it has, and using the smartphone somehow project that out. So it's holographic communication is my best bet for a resonance, but don't only look for that. I mean, anything is possible here as this moment in time arrives. 2025 kicked off here with this first eclipse in Pisces, 17, 18 September, depending on your location, a mere 5 days from where I am now. I am ready and very anxious now to see what kind of upgrades we're going to have with the communication. If it's not holographic communication technology, maybe it's something else. Maybe some of you might have ideas or work in this field. You can let me know in the comments if you want. And so just keep that in mind. One of these eclipses in Pisces, I've gone through it a lot, but we'll do it quickly again here. Every late summer, while that lunar north node is running through its cycle, we'll have a lunar eclipse only in Pisces. The moon in mundane astrology is the collective, the body of beings. So maybe that has to do with these lunar eclipse cycles running through Pisces, another reason why it's going to change the hoi polloi, or the body politic. But it's every late summer, September 2024, September 2025, and then late August 2026, we'll have those three eclipses. When does Saturn leave Pisces? Well, we get a preview next summer, 3 months of Saturn out of Pisces and into Aries. I think it's 26 May 2025, and then it re-enters Pisces on 1 September 2025. So we'll get that summer next summer without a Saturn and Pisces energetic. But from September, October, November, December, January, and then into early February, Saturn's back in Pisces. It's not until 2026 when this stuff clears and we're out of this moment where there's a huge upgrade potentially in the telecommunications or communications technology, the mind meld of the collective oneness. We're about to experience it. Get ready, keep open to see how this may emerge. All right, so that's it. Really glad to be here. I wanted to make a short video just to prepare us a little bit for some cycle work around the Pisces eclipse cycle. I'm going to do more of that to prepare for 2025. The true north node and true south node of the moon, they don't change signs until January 2025. So it's one of those things where some of that work might be delayed, and it's okay. I'll have big breakdowns for a lot more of what this cycle evokes and what type of echoes we might experience around this cycle. So look for that later in the year. Just keep following the channel, like and subscribe if you want to help and assist. You can check my website at sjanderson144.com, Instagram, sjanderson233. And now you can find me on Patreon, sjanderson144, so you can go support me over there. And I'll talk to you really, really soon. Great to be living in this time with you, this new Piscean age that will arrive here even deeper than it already has. So have a wonderful eclipse season. Talk real soon. Peace.